In the vibrant, exuberant landscape of the Egba Kingdom, where the rivers flowed like silver ribbons and the forests whispered age-old secrets, King Akin reigned with wisdom and benevolence. His beloved queen, Ireti, was not only adored for her grace but also revered for her wisdom. Their union had blessed them with a prosperous and flourishing kingdom. But tranquility was about to be shattered by a calamity from the east. The Kpana Kingdom, a neighboring land, had been besieged by a relentless drought and famine that had lasted for years. The once thriving fields lay barren, and the people faced starvation. In their desperation, the Kpana chief priest declared that only the sacrifice of a pregnant queen could appease the gods and restore their land's fertility. The Kpana king, facing the grim choice of war or sacrifice, reluctantly chose the latter. One fateful night, as the moon cast an eerie glow over the Egba Kingdom, an unsettling silence blanketed the royal palace. The usual sounds of revelry and celebration had ceased, replaced by a profound stillness that seemed to weigh heavily upon the air. The moon, full and luminescent, hung low in the sky, casting long, spectral shadows across the palace grounds. The grandeur of the palace, with its intricate carvings and towering spires, appeared ghostly and subdued under the pale light. King Akin, a just and noble ruler, was away from the palace, engaged in urgent diplomatic negotiations with neighboring realms. His absence, though temporary, left the palace vulnerable, and it was in this moment of solitude that darkness descended upon the kingdom. A foreboding chill crept through the corridors, as if the very night conspired against the kingdom's tranquility. The king of Kpana sent a band of soldiers to kidnap the pregnant queen from the Egba Kingdom. The soldiers, fierce and merciless, meticulously planned their incursion. Led by Commander Oba, a man of cold determination and ruthless ambition, they had plotted their attack with precision. Under the cover of darkness, the Kpana soldiers advanced stealthily towards the palace. They were clad in dark, nondescript armor that blended seamlessly with the night. Their footsteps were muffled by the thick, dew-laden grass, and their movements were silent as shadows. The palace guards, though vigilant, were unprepared for the swift and coordinated assault that was about to unfold. The first sign of the invasion was the sudden, violent clash of steel as the Kpana soldiers breached the outer defenses. A few guards, caught off guard and overwhelmed, fought valiantly but were quickly subdued. The Kpana soldiers, trained in the art of swift and decisive action, moved with grim efficiency. They overcame the guards with brutal force, their weapons flashing in the moonlight as they struck down anyone who dared to resist. Within the palace, the chaos was palpable. The once serene and orderly halls were now a scene of tumult. The sound of clashing swords, shouts of command, and the muffled cries of wounded guards filled the corridors. The opulent chambers, adorned with luxurious tapestries and shimmering chandeliers, were now tainted with the stark reality of violence. Queen Ireti, the beloved consort of King Akin and pregnant with the heir to the throne, was in her private chambers when the attack began. Her chambers, a haven of tranquility adorned with delicate fabrics and soft, warm light, were abruptly invaded. Her maids, though brave, were no match for the soldiers who burst in, their faces masked by dark hoods. Ireti, despite her condition, exhibited grace under pressure. Her eyes, wide with fear but resolute, met the cold gaze of Commander Oba as he entered her chamber. The commander, with a demeanor as unyielding as iron, wasted no time. He seized Ireti, disregarding her pleas and the protests of her attendants. The queen's heart pounded with both fear and determination. She knew the gravity of her situation, so she couldn't struggle against her captors. "Do not resist." Commander Oba's voice was a harsh whisper, devoid of empathy. The Kpana, skilled in the art of intimidation, restrained the queen with practiced efficiency and took her away. King Akin, away on an urgent meeting, returns to find his world shattered. The palace was in ruins and his heart shattered at the sight of his wife's empty chamber. Desperation consumed King Akin as he organized a frantic search. His soldiers scoured the land, the forests, and every corner of the kingdom, but there was no trace of the queen. Days turned into weeks and hope seemed to fade. The kingdom mourned the loss of their queen, and King Akin's grief was palpable. Yet the king refused to give up. He believed that somewhere his wife and unborn child was still alive. Within the shadowed walls of Kpana's secret chamber, Queen Ireti gave birth to a son whom she named Tunde. Despite her heartbreaking fate, she managed to hold her newborn close, a final act of maternal love. Following her sacrifice, the Kpana priests, adhering to their cruel ritual, they entrusted the child to two women who cared for him with utmost secrecy. At the tender age of 2, the boy was abandoned in the dense forest, a place intended to be familiar to those who might find him. The boy was left alone in the brush crying. King Akin and some guards, while on their way back from a crucial meeting, heard the cry of a child in the bush. The king's breath quickened as he followed the direction of the cry, pushing through the thick underbrush with determined force. The forest seemed apart for him, guiding him toward the sound of the faint cry of an infant echoing through the trees. His heart skipped a beat as he stopped, straining to identify the source of the sound that grew increasingly insistent. His eyes darted around, scanning for any sign of movement or disturbance. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the king emerged into a small, secluded clearing. There, lying amidst a tangle of leaves and branches, was a tiny figure. The child, no more than 2 years old, was alone and shivering. His small body wrapped in ragged, soiled clothes. His face was streaked with dirt, and his eyes, wide and frightened, peered out from under a mop of tangled hair. King Akin's heart ached at the sight. The child's cries were weak, his voice barely audible over the ambient sounds of the forest. Without hesitation, the king knelt beside the child, his face a mask of both concern and tenderness. He reached out carefully, his hands gentle as he scooped the small, trembling body into his arms. "Hey, dear little one," King Akin murmured softly, his voice imbued with warmth. He wrapped the child in the folds of his own cloak, which was thick and warm. The king's touch was gentle but firm, a reassuring presence in the midst of the child's fear. "It's going to be all right. You're safe now." The child's tears continued to fall, but he clung to the king's cloak with a mixture of desperation and hope. As King Akin held him close, he could feel the chill of the child's body against his own. The king's heart swelled with a profound sense of compassion and protectiveness. This tiny being, left abandoned in the forest, was now a symbol of hope and renewal in the midst of his personal grief. The return to the palace was a journey marked by quiet reflection. King Akin's thoughts were a whirl of emotions, from the anguish of losing his queen to the unexpected gift of this child. He wondered who the child was and why he had been left alone in the forest. The mystery only deepened the king's resolve to care for him. Immediately the king and his guards got to the palace, his personal physician and a team of attendants were summoned. The child was carefully taken care of according to the King Akin's instruction. King Akin, the exhausted, wondered who would have left the little child in the forest. He was deeply moved by the fragility and innocence of the little one he had found in the forest. As the days passed, the child, who was named Tunde, this was the name he wanted to give his unborn child. A name signifying a return, became a beacon of hope within the palace walls. Though Tunde's origins were humble and marked by hardship, he was embraced by the royal family and the palace staff. His presence brought a new sense of purpose and warmth to the palace, filling the void left by the queen's absence. King Akin's commitment to Tunde was unwavering. He saw in the child a symbol of renewal and resilience. Tunde grew up within the palace, surrounded by love and care. Despite his status as a slave boy, he was given opportunities to learn and thrive. His natural intelligence and keen observation made him stand out, and he quickly became a favorite among the palace staff. His bright spirit and quick wit endeared him to those around him, and he demonstrated a wisdom far beyond his years. King Akin recognized Tunde's potential and nurtured it with great care. The child who had been found alone in the forest blossomed into a young man of remarkable insight and integrity. His loyalty and dedication to the king earned him a position of significant influence within the court. Tunde's journey from a shivering, abandoned child to one of the king's most trusted advisors was a testament to his resilience and the king's compassion. In time, Tunde's role in the palace became vital. His counsel was sought in matters of state, and his wisdom contributed greatly to the kingdom's prosperity. The once lost child had become a symbol of hope and renewal for the Egba Kingdom, and his presence was a living reminder of the strength and grace that can emerge from even the darkest of times. King Akin's act of rescuing Tunde had not only provided the child with a new beginning but had also brought light back into the king's life and reign. The palace, once filled with sorrow, now thrived with the energy and vitality of Tunde, a constant reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the power of compassion. One day, as Tunde was on an errand, he overheard a conversation among 3 Kpana men, who were lamenting their role in the kidnapping and death of Queen Ireti. They expressed deep remorse for their actions, revealing details about their grim mission. Driven by curiosity and a sense of justice, out of curiosity Tunde followed the men discreetly and learned their identities and where they lived. Upon returning to the palace, Tunde shared his findings with King Akin, who was deeply intrigued and distressed by the revelations. The king questioned Tunde about the men and he explained where they live. King Akin, moved by Tunde's dedication, revealed the tragic story of Queen Ireti's abduction. The boy was deeply affected by the king's sorrow and began to weep, feeling a profound connection to the queen he had never known. King Akin decided to take action. He summoned an emergency meeting with the elders and warriors of Egba. The council debated the situation and, recognizing the importance of justice, agreed to send a select group of warriors, led by Tunde, to capture the 3 men and bring them back for interrogation. The warriors succeeded in their mission, capturing the 3 men and bringing them before King Akin. Under pressure and fear of death, the men confessed to their role in the kidnapping and the sacrifice of Queen Ireti. They explained that the queen had been killed, but Tunde, her son, was left in the forest according to the chief priest's instructions. He asked the men from Kpana for the exact date when the child had been abandoned, and upon hearing it, he realized that Tunde was indeed the child he had unknowingly rescued. The realization that Tunde was his lost son brought waves of relief and sorrow. With a renewed sense of purpose, King Akin prepared for war against the Kpana Kingdom. The conflict was fierce, but under his leadership and with Tunde's wise counsel, Egba emerged victorious. The Kpana king was defeated, and many of his people were taken captive. Yet, King Akin's victory was tempered by mercy. He negotiated with the Kpana captives, offering them freedom in exchange for peace and a promise of alliance. The lands of Egba were enriched by this newfound peace, and the kingdom began to heal from the scars of war. With the kingdom stabilized and peace restored, King Akin turned his attention to the future. The coronation of his son, Tunde, was said to be a grand celebration, marking the beginning of a new era for Egba Kingdom. The palace was transformed for the occasion, adorned with vibrant fabrics and adorned with symbols of prosperity and hope. The air was filled with the sweet scent of incense, and the rhythmic beats of drums resonated through the streets. Dancers performed traditional dances, their movements a vibrant tapestry of Egba's history and culture. Tunde was dressed in resplendent royal regalia, a sight that captured the essence of his noble lineage and the promise of a bright future. He was presented before the assembled nobles and citizens, who greeted him with joyous cheers and celebrations. King Akin, his heart swelling with pride, placed the crown upon Tunde's head, officially making him the crown prince. The coronation was followed by a lavish feast, where traditional dishes were served, and the people rejoiced in the new chapter of their kingdom's history. The celebration marked not just the rise of a new prince but the flourishing of a kingdom that had endured and triumphed. Under Prince Tunde's reign, the Egba Kingdom entered a golden age. His wisdom continued to guide the kingdom to unprecedented heights of prosperity. Trade flourished, alliances were strengthened, and the people lived in peace and abundance. King Akin, now an elder statesman, looked upon his son's reign with great pride. The legacy of Queen Ireti and the trials faced by their family became a poignant chapter in the kingdom's rich history. The story of Prince Tunde became a legend, a testament to resilience, justice, and the enduring spirit of a royal lineage. As the years passed, Egba Kingdom thrived, and the tale of the lost prince and his return to greatness was told for generations to come, a story of hope, redemption, and the unwavering strength of a kingdom united under a beloved leader. Under Prince Tunde's reign, the Egba Kingdom entered an era of remarkable prosperity and peace. His rise to prominence was not just a personal triumph but also a testament to the kingdom's resilience and renewal after the trials of the past. The prince's leadership was marked by his commitment to justice, wisdom, and compassion, traits that had been honed through his own tumultuous journey.